Hello, good morning, and welcome to our time together, Howbridge School. It's fantastic I always say to see you, but I can't see you, but you can see me. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. We have a new half term, we have a new theme, and the theme is perseverance. Perseverance, keeping going no matter what. And this half term, I have some new friends joining me. So you don't have to just look at my face, which again is probably a real blessing because Daniel is much better looking than me. So I've given you a clue to his name, and his name is
Daniel. What's happening, people? Good to see you all. Good to see you all.
Yeah. So this is my friend Daniel. We're actually related. I don't know how, some distant cousin thing going on, but he's married to my niece, and he's a lovely fella. Daniel, whereabouts are you from?
Well, originally I'm from Portugal. That's where I was born. That's where I grew up, and I moved to the UK in 2008. So quite a few years ago. Now to go to uni, and I've been here ever since. But yeah, originally from Portugal, but right now I'm living in the north. I live in Manchester, which is great. I love it. Although I do miss the beach and I miss the weather. If there was a beach in Manchester, I feel like Manchester would be perfect. But unfortunately, there's only canals, and I can't really swim in the canal because it's a bit nasty. So I'm not going to do that.
And does it really rain all the time?
Mate, you have no idea.
Daniel, what keeps you busy most days?
Yeah, man. So so like I said, I live in Manchester. I'm part of a band, an indie pop band called Brightline, which is part of a Christian charity called the Message Trust.
Show me a touch of heaven, hold me for a second now. Only you can make me feel I'm not alone.
So what I do, and this is what I used to do loads before COVID, I would travel all across the UK and play at festivals, going into high schools, do tours around Europe as well, play at arenas with the whole purpose of bringing a message of hope. So I'll do music. I'm a bit of I'm a beatboxer. I sing a little bit. I dance a little bit as well. I dance a little bit as well. But the whole purpose of all that is to bring good news and to tell people that in the midst of the storms of life, there is hope, and hope has a name. And we believe as Christians that that name is Jesus. So that's kind of what I do. That's what keeps me busy. And right now we're working on a big festival happening next year in Platfields in Manchester, where we're going to be gathering loads of people, thousands of people, to bring the good news and see transformation in the city. So that's kind of what I'm involved with. And then on my spare time, I like to go on bike rides, go for runs, go up walking, all that kind of stuff, hang out with my wife. Not on my spare time only, but all the time, hopefully.
Nice. And I promise you, I'm not going to attempt to beatbox. Brilliant. That is so helpful. We have a mad question for you, and we're going to ask each of our guests this question. And seeing as you're the first, you are the first to get to us answer this question. And it is, Daniel, you are president of the world for one day. What would you do?
Oh, I'm president of the world for one day. I would, you know what? I feel like ice cream is one of the best things, one of the best inventions. So I would have everyone have ice cream for breakfast. I think that's a solid one. Not good for the health, really, but I feel like it'll be good for the joy of people's lives to have ice cream. It can be any flavor. I'm pretty boring. Vanilla is my favorite, but I think ice cream. I think that's a solid one.
You're talking my language. I guess he's talking your language, guys. Maybe ice cream. Is that
Are you backing me? Let me know.
Yeah.
Backing me or not?
100%. Brilliant. Now then, I'm not actually going to stop we'll carry on with the assembly, but if you just want to pause this, and in your groups, in your pairs, your threes, and your whole classes, perhaps you can ask yourselves, if you were president for a day, what would you do? Would it involve ice cream? Would it involve breakfast? Would it involve something totally different? What would you do? So, and perhaps you can let me know, perhaps get one of the teachers to drop me an email about what you would do. What would you be? How would you change the world if you were president? Brilliant.
Show me a touch of heaven, hold me for a second now. Only you can make me feel I'm not alone.
Thank you so much. Good. Well, we're going to get on to our subject today. Well, we're on our subject, but we're going to be looking at the book of Hebrews. So we're looking at perseverance, and perseverance in particular, and in the fact that it's like a long race. And life is like a long race. And we have one particular Bible verse which sums up what this race is like. Slideshow from the beginning. There we go. So hopefully you can all see this, guys. So it says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And sin, remember, is just stuff that makes God sad, really, and makes other people sad too. Especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. And that's Hebrews chapter 12, verse 2. And if you want to read around it, it's actually verses 1 to 11, but in particular, verse 2. Right, let's bring us back on the stream. There we go. So we've got some questions, and each week what we're going to do, so our guest is very kindly coming along, and thanks again to you, Daniel, for your time. And we're going to run through some questions, and these questions might be actually quite personal to whoever it is that I'm asking the questions of. So we've seen that verse, and we're going to rattle through some questions and just get Daniel's take on these. You may have your own take, by the way. You may have your own views, but this is hopefully going to help you work your way through this verse, this passage. So first of all, Daniel, start off at 10. Have you ever run or maybe biked or swum in a long race? And if so, what was it like and how did you feel at the end?
Oh, mate, 100%. I'm a little bit competitive. I'm not going to lie. I do enjoy sports. I do enjoy running. I actually find running quite relaxing. It helps me, especially after a long day. When I'm in the school touring, whatever, I find it quite good to run in the evening. It just kind of helps me with my mental health as well. But cycling as well is one of my favorite things to do. I got a bike a couple of years ago, and me and my friends, we cycle quite a few K. But I remember the first race I've done running. It was cross country, and I was in year 6. And I remember I came last. Last in the race. I know it's deceiving because I'm a tall guy, right? I'm 6'6.5". So I'm pretty tall, and a lot of people would think I was quite athletic then. I remember I came last, and I was so embarrassed. I'm like, I can't believe it. And then at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to change stuff. I'm going to train a little bit more so I can run properly and not get tired and all that kind of stuff. But even though I felt a bit embarrassed in that first race, recently, doing half marathons and 10Ks and all that kind of stuff, I just feel good. I enjoy it. I remember, I tell you what, Will, this is the last time I went on the bike ride, which was a couple of weeks ago, and I did a 90K bike ride. And I went by myself. I don't know even why I decided to do it, but I just went cycling and went to this random town that I've never been before. And then I remember halfway through, I was like, what am I doing with life? Why am I here? And I genuinely thought of stopping, calling my wife Emily and say, please come and pick me up. But I didn't. So I kept on cycling. It took me a lot longer than I thought it would be. But then afterwards I thought, you know what? I did it. I persevered. I carried on. I could have just given up halfway through and got Emily to pick me up, which she would have picked me up. But I persevered, carried on, had a bath when I got home. It was all good. So it was all good.
Were there spectators? Was there anybody watching?
Yes, for sure. For sure. In some of the half marathons I've done and 10Ks, there'll be people cheering me. It's a weird one as well because your name is on your little badge. So then people be like, "Go on, Daniel." I was like, how do you know my name? I'm like, how do they know who am I? How? But they don't. They just read my name like everybody else can do. But there are spectators, which I kind of enjoy it. I kind of enjoy that there's people cheering you on because it kind of just gets you to go a bit faster and just keep on going instead of doing it by yourself.
So in our verse today, what is living the Christian life compared to? I mean, you kind of given us a clue, but so the Apostle Paul wrote this verse, and what was he comparing the Christian life to?
It's compared to a race, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He starts off saying, keep running the race and make sure that some of the stuff that sometimes gets in the way doesn't stop you from running. I feel like, so easily, for example, if I'm running, I'm sure that you've all experienced this before, but sometimes when I'm running, I feel like there's something in my shoe, a pebble, and that can cause so much distress. It might be a tiny, tiny little pebble, but I'll start thinking, oh, that's painful. And then I'll have to stop and I'll not be able to run. So in order for me to keep on running, I need to make sure I take that tiny little pebble out of my shoe to be able to keep running properly with perseverance. And I think so many times in life, as we run this kind of race of life at different speeds, we all run at different speeds, and that is okay, and that's important. I feel like so many times we allow tiny little pebbles to get into our shoes, or things to stop us from fulfilling what we are actually called to do. I think so many times it might be maybe words that people say about us, saying, "Oh, you'll never be able to do that," or "You are nobody," or "You're a waste of space," or "You're wasting oxygen." It might be words, or even might be thoughts that come into our mind saying, "Actually, you'll never be able to do this," or maybe some stuff that we do, things that actually upset God or upset others. And the Bible uses this word called sin, that might stop us from running the race of life. And the reality is, at the end of the day, I believe that we need to see ourselves the same way as God sees us, unique, with special value, with a purpose in life. And I think once we start to ignore those nasty words that people say, we are able then to focus on what we need to do and keep running. Yeah, people might be throwing little stones, little pebbles, and trying to sabotage and put pebbles in your shoes. You keep taking them shoes off, keep shaking them shoes, get the pebbles out your shoes, and you keep running your race, and you'll get to the finish line.
So what do you reckon, Daniel? It's elite athletes, the very, very best, the Olympic athletes. What do they do to help them perform their best? What do they need to do?
As you watch them, you see the discipline that they have. You hear about the discipline, their training regimes. I mean, even just like Ronaldo, I remember reading about what he would do in terms of training, what he would eat, the time that he would go to bed, all these things that we think like, "Oh, that sucks, that's so boring." But the reason why he is the way that he is because of all that work that he puts in. Putting in work from day one, putting in work, all the discipline. And now that's why he is, I believe, one of the best footballers that ever graced the beautiful game of football.
So why might God allow different, so we talked about the stone in your shoe, we've talked about the fact that training is hard, but why might God allow difficult things into our lives, do you reckon, Daniel?
That's such a deep question, isn't it? And I'm sure, as people are watching this, they've been going through some stuff in their families, in their personal life. And many times I don't necessarily understand why certain things happen. But one thing I do believe is that part of that becomes part of our story. And I believe that we have the opportunity to break the mold and break the cycle and again be those game changers, world changers. One of my favorite things that Jesus said, and he was talking to his mates. You can see this in the book of John, chapter 16, and he's hanging out with his peoples, and he says this, "I've told you all these things so that in me you might have peace." So he's telling his friends that his friends can find peace. And then he says this, "In this world you will have loads of issues, like loads of problems, but take heart, don't lose heart, because I have won it all, I have overcome it." So actually, we, being friends with Jesus is generally being friends with a champion, someone that has overcome, someone that has persevered. And we look, in this little passage that we just read, it talks about how Jesus persevered, carried on running. So we are actually mates with a champion, and that gives us the ability that, yes, stuff will happen, storms will happen in our life, but in the midst of those storms, there is hope, and hope has a name, and his name is Jesus, the champion. He will be with us in the good times, and it's times like, this is hard, this is suck, but he'll be like, keep going, keep running, don't lose heart.
What is God's discipline? So we've talked about perseverance, and you come up with some really helpful points, Daniel. Really appreciate that. What does God's discipline, what does this whole perseverance, what does this keeping going produce?
Yeah, I think perseverance, all that produces more perseverance. I believe, perseverance produces perseverance. I believe it produces hope, because as we keep on going, we can see the goal. And then I think it produces perspective as well.
Brilliant. Loads of stuff in there. So very grateful. I'm just going to finish off. And some of you guys know Makaton, some of you don't, and it really doesn't matter. But I reckon we could just finish off with the Lord's Prayer in Makaton. But if you can say it in words, that'd be good. And if Daniel, I don't know if Daniel wants to say in Portuguese, he could do that.
Okay.
Would you do that? I just thought of that. That worked
You
really
know what?
well.
At the same time.
Yeah. So
You know what?
quite
Why not?
slowly, because I'm slow at Makaton. It's like any language. So, our
Pai
Father
nosso,
in
que
heaven,
estás nos céus,
hallowed be
santificado
your name.
seja o teu nome.
Your
Venha o
kingdom
teu
come.
reino.
Your
Faça-se a
will
tua
be done
vontade,
on earth
assim na terra
as it is
como no
in
céu.
heaven. Give us
Pão
today
nosso de
our
cada dia,
daily bread.
dá-nos
And
hoje.
forgive us our
E
sins
perdoa-nos as nossas
as
dívidas,
we forgive
assim como nós temos perdoado os
those
nossos
who
devedores.
forgive us.
E
And
não
lead
nos
us
deixes
not
cair
into
em
temptation,
tentação, mas
but
livra-nos do
deliver
mal.
us from evil.
Pois
For
o
the kingdom,
teu é o reino,
power,
o
and
poder e a
glory
glória
are yours,
para sempre.
now and
Amém.
Amen. So God bless you. Have a great day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
See you guys later. Bye.